Yo guys, what's up? Dragonflight was released about 4 months ago and I think it's time to talk about how good Dragonflight really is. The short answer is, yeah, Dragonflight is a pretty good expansion and I could probably finish the video right here and be like, thanks for watching guys, but I think it's a bit more complicated than this. Let's talk about it. Dragonflight does a lot of things right. More account-wide progression, faster leveling for your main and all characters, bi-weekly world quests, a better renown system for the main 4 factions and some other things like storytelling, early flying because of dragon riding, optional side activities and some optional rep grinds that reward players with cosmetics and such. With the release of Dragonflight, professions changed a bit as well and the crafting order system was introduced alongside the profession changes that include profession-specific gear that helps with gathering, resources and crafting. While all of this seems like a W for many people, Blizzard also publicly announced their roadmap for Dragonflight a couple of weeks ago, and the most recent addition to the game is the trading post that has been in the game for about a month now, and we are probably going to get the 10.0.7 patch quite soon. Speaking of wins for World of Warcraft, as of making this video in patch 10.0.5, there is no real borrowed power in the game. And I don't think that 10.0.7 is going to change this. As of now, the only real borrowed power might be tier sets, but everyone and their grandmother knows that this sort of borrowed power is not an issue. Yes, I'm looking at you, Heart of Azeroth, or whatever happened in Shadowlands. Speaking of Shadowlands, which was an experience for itself, and I'm truly sorry to cause severe PTSD by just mentioning the name of that expansion, so far Dragonflight is the complete opposite and values the freedom of players more than the last 2 expansions ever did, and on top of that, Dragonflight is a pretty old-friendly expansion so far, which helps quite a bunch of people to do stuff. Before we went to the Dragon Isles, we were chained to a pretty shitty gameplay loop. In the past couple of expansions, we were trained to grind for borrowed powers like the Heart of Azeroth in BFA or doing Torghast runs every week in Shadowlands just to have enough resources to unlock certain Covenant features and to be able to craft the legendary best in slot gear piece that could be obsolete with the next patch. Dragonflight doesn't have this. You are not getting punished much when you decide to not play for a couple of days or even weeks, and catch-up mechanics for the improved renown system are there from the start rather than having it added 1 or 2 major patches later. Of course, when you don't play for 2 weeks you can't expect people to accept you in higher Mythic Plus keys or heroic raids when your item level is lower than desired. But you getting declined by groups for this reason is not bound to a borrowed power that you would need to catch up on because you haven't played for 2 weeks. I think that sums it up quite perfectly in my opinion. Because of the lack of a mandatory grind for more borrowed power, some people might think that there's nothing to do in Dragonflight, but that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of stuff to do on the Dragon Isles. Bi-weekly world quests, weekly quests, raiding, Mythic Plus dungeons, PvP stuff, world PvP, pet battles, quests, the Isla camp that appears every so often, the free community-orientated activities, elemental invasions, trying to get in new mounts, getting more renown that unlocks cosmetics and some quests further down the line, dragon riding races, crafting resources, gathering and maybe even just fishing with the Tuskar. There's a lot of stuff to do, it's just different and most of it is not a mandatory thing, which is probably the biggest strength of Dragonflight in my opinion. But not everything is fine and dandy in Dragonflight either. It's said that Valdrakken is probably the best major city they have made in a while, but the performance issues in the main city of the expansion are just quite annoying and quite a lot of people are affected by it. The crafting order system is pretty hit or miss and some professions can take advantage of public crafting orders much or at all. Besides those issues, I think that some dungeons are pretty garbage for Mythic Plus and I'm worried that other Dragonflight dungeons that are currently not in the rotation will have a handful of balancing issues. I mean, Ruby Life Pools is still quite tough on anything higher than a plus 10. So how good is Dragonflight really? I think this expansion is pretty good and I enjoy having the freedom to do whatever I want, and if that means that I level up another character just by doing world quests and harvesting plants, so be it. This expansion is doing quite a lot of things right from the start, and if Dragonflight is going to continue in this direction, this could be one of the best expansions in recent years. The most important thing for me personally is the fact that I don't feel punished when I decide to not play World of Warcraft for a couple of days and instead play some Divinity 2 or Ghost Recon Breakpoint or just farm old mounts on my old characters, and this makes Dragonflight quite enjoyable. Everything else that I mentioned, like faster leveling and bi-weekly world quests for example, are just the cherries on top of it. I like Dragonflight and I hope Blizzard is going to continue like this, because this expansion feels like a small redemption arc they badly needed and somehow pull off almost perfectly. What do you guys think about Dragonflight? Do you think it's a good expansion or is it kind of boring? Let me know in the comments and I will see you guys in the next one.